Welcome to the Revelating Hour with your host, me and T. T, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm still reeling from all the technical difficulties that we had from the pilot show, the first show. I mean, we lost a chunk of the show, and it just seemed like everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Well, that usually happens when you're breaking new ground. There's always, no matter what thing you're taking on in your life, as you break through to the new level, there's always going to be gravity.
Yeah, you even had some issues with your cell phone that day too, or the next day, right?
Yes, correct. End up dropping it in the water.
I can't believe that. Well, actually, I can because after the pilot, it just seemed like it was like Murphy's Law, and it was like on hyperdrive, and I lost chunks of the footage. We ran into some problems with the computer, and I started to think like I don't know. Your mind starts racing when you when all that stuff starts to go wrong. So I don't know. You're right. We'll figure it out, and I think that we have our technical difficulties behind us. That's what I hope. So I just wanted to actually move back to what we lost, what the people didn't hear, because there was a chunk where T had actually moved on to talk about what the purpose of some of the things that we're going to be doing. And why don't you fill them in on where you were going with that, if you can remember everything, T?
Well, I was hopefully trying to get the audience to understand that as you move forward, there has to be a strategic plan. In other words, there is a formula to achieving certain levels in your walk of divinity or spirituality. As we move through religious lives in whatever faith that you may have, we get a mishmash of information. One day they're talking about something spiritual, something they're talking about personal, and any serious spiritual journey has to be like rungs on a ladder, each leading you higher and higher and higher. And so that is where I was hoping to guide everyone. And this doesn't require anyone to change religions, faith, or any other thing. It's just a paradigm shift in the way you approach your spiritual journey. For if you're truly looking for faith, for truth, then it's only a natural recourse.
Mm-hmm.
But if so it doesn't require a finger pointing and saying that this religion or this is wrong or not valid or so forth, because there's a speck of truth in everything, and that is how these great religions was able to sustain all these years and attract all the people that they have attracted. Is because it's built around a certain amount of truth. But like we spoke about before, without the other pieces, it begins to turn in on itself, and then it becomes something else.
Right.
Because we're always dealing with polarities and, every... there's two sides to everything, as we say. And if you go so far left, you're going to be going right soon, So that's where I was with where we would like to go.
Yeah, and I think what we're going to do is we're just going to, step by step, we're going to build like almost building a house, and we're going to put a good foundation together first. So, when you're building a house, you got to put the foundation, you got to level it, you got to, pour the concrete in, and you got to put a clear coat on top of that to protect it. So I think that's going to be a good methodical approach for us to take with everybody and ourselves for that matter. So
exactly, because this is for ourselves as much as it is for anyone listening. Because, your first step is in the realm of mental. We have to get our minds right to even proceed to any other level of your walk. And that is where so many other disciplines, I want to say, I'm trying to use my word because I don't want to offend anyone, but that's where so many other disciplines fail, is because instead of creating a strong mind, they put together formulas to weaken someone's mind, to manipulate and cause negative things, guilt, play on emotions. All these are weakening one's mind, therefore not allowing them to develop a strong spirit.
You made me think about.
Yes, go ahead.
You made me think about when you were talking about the negative thoughts and things like that. You made me think about all the September doom. We're supposed to be destroyed by now by a meteor. Jade Helm was going to come and take your guns. Another guy had started this whole Shemitah craze, and we were supposed to have a great shaking, and all this stuff was supposed to happen. But I find it to be counterproductive, because you're so worried about saving your own buns. That's all you really worry about. How can I survive this? What do I need? And what can I get to help the people close to me? And it becomes a big physical thing. And I think what Christ was teaching us was to actually tap in to a place through spiritual cultivation, aligning our minds and heart with the law of abundance, the law of giving, reciprocation. We can tap into these things at a moment's notice. That's what these other prophets seem to be able to do on demand. And none of them were controlled by fear. So I just wanted to jump in and say that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's so true. In Colossians, I think it was like 3:1-2, it says, if then you have been raised with Christ, seek things that are above, where Christ is seated on the right hand of God. Set your minds on things above and not on things that are on earth. So right there, it's telling you, you have to put your mind where you're going. You have to set it on your destination and not so much of where you're coming from. And we are influenced greatly by what we receive in the mind. And you spoke about a few things, but people don't realize how much they're being influenced and taken off their spiritual path. Because I say Republican, you say Democrat. I say black, you say white. I say green, you say yellow. Mm-hmm. Anytime I can create a conflict, and it doesn't matter, from the smallest to the largest thing, you have enslaved yourself into not moving forward. You have bound yourself to an idea that has changed your mind to this earth and to things of social and earthly and material things. So every time we pick a side, we look at the political landscape and spiritual landscape, or I should say religious landscapes, where you are asked to choose a side. You know, I'm talking about God, you're talking about God, but I'm talking about this aspect of God, and you're talking about that aspect of God, and I don't like you because you're talking about that aspect.
And I think as soon as you do that, you negate the spiritual side. It just stops. I think you just hit a wall. It's not going to work for you anymore. As soon as you get into a black a white thing, you know, up or down, a Republican, Democrat, I think it just stops right there.
Well, it does, and that's why, like what I just read out of Colossians, in where it says, you have to keep your mind where Christ is. You have to keep your mind of things above, because if you keep your mind on things of the earth, you will then be a victim of it also, and you will suffer. You know, all of these doomsayers and people who talk about the end of the earth, the coming of whatever Armageddon or disaster, uh, they forget the part that if you, as the seeker, is concentrating on what you are supposed to do in the will of God, then those things don't mean any, because you're in training to prepare yourself for such outcomes. And no amount of water, no amount of goal saving, no amount of prepping will be able to save you. The only prepping you can do is spiritual prepping.
And you know what? I want to add to that because you know, I talk to my father about things pretty regularly, and he's a retired colonel, and I was talking to him about prepping and stuff, and you know, during a wartime situation in America, like if the War Act got enacted or if FEMA got called into your state, the governor steps down, and then a military guy takes over. But it's actually written into their laws that your house can be taken possession of, your goods, everything. So a lot of people would just turn out being a bodega in a sense. And then who says you're even going to be able to stay in one location? If tanks were coming, are you going to stay there and protect your beef jerky, or are you going to save your hiney?
Right. And that's so. I'm just naming these things just to give an idea, a mental picture of how foolish it is, because you're not preparing for or actually doing the correct preparation. You're preparing materially for a spiritual thing, and they are two different realms.
Is that even possible? That's funny.
No, it isn't. But this is what people use, and they'll make money off it, and they'll confuse you, and they'll make you believe, and you'll listen, and you'll suffer with them, and you'll create negative rhythms within one's own body, within one's own temple, because anyone who's felt fear run through their veins, who's felt anger run through their brains, who's felt happiness run through their veins, knows that there's a different chemical response to one's being under certain states. So if your mind is constantly thinking about the end and it's not seeking life, you know, and while they may give you an instruction on what may be coming, but the preparation antidote is all wrong, because there's only one antidote, because you don't battle against flesh and blood. You're battling against spiritual things.
Right.
So if things are going to be coming from up above in heaven, what do you think you have? The only thing you have is what you was equipped with by the Creator, and that is spiritual power that you have yet to attain. So you are defenseless, you know, and you know, you leave man to handle man, but we have a different thing. So you have to guard your mind, and you have to stay think on purpose. You have to move on purpose. You have to act on purpose because there is a how do I want to say it? There's a very detrimental recourse to not being able to do that. So the first step that we must do is to be able to have a different perspective on our mental level. Right. And see, our mental level is a very vast level because there's the knowledge level where we only use what we think we know, what we learn, what we read. But there are so many different mental levels that has to be conquered. And if you're only living off one aspect of your mind, you're going to become a victim. You're going to bring your whole self under it's going to make it all a victim of your inability to secure your mind. There are dimensional planes of the mind that we have yet to even explore because we're so caught up on intellectual things of what we read on the internet, what we see on the internet, what we heard, what the Kardashians are doing. You know,
what are the Kardashians doing?
You know, all these things are not allowing you to proceed in a spiritual manner.
I just want to do a quick little tangent and then get back on the road there. But I just wanted to let people know that and have you co-sign on this that it had to be right after Lamar Odom's buddy OD'd. I think I talked to you that same day. I think I actually called you and told you. And I think I told you he's going to be dead himself in 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember me saying that?
You did speak that he was going to run into some trouble.
Yep. And I just think that I think that the Kardashians are, mixed up in some stuff. It's very occultish when you look at their, some of their pictures they've taken, like that Christmas picture. And it seems like what these celebrities that get to the top, there's a lot of death surrounding them. Parents get killed. A lot of mothers get killed. Like it's very strange that it's so. I want to find out if it's even statistically probable for that to happen. But I think these people around them. I mean, you obviously give up your the spirit, or even having the ability for the Holy Spirit to want to dwell in your body when you're polluting it with drugs and that lifestyle that they have, and even people that are negative, are going to have the same thing. But I don't know. I just you just made me think about that. So go ahead. I'm sorry. I just interrupt you sometime. I feel bad
no problem.
Because you're on such a good
and I didn't mention them to bash them. That lifestyle that people like them live is a culture. It's a culture of the lost. It's the culture of the spiritually dead, and it's a culture of materialism. It gives the illusion of success. It gives the illusion of power. It gives the illusion of all these things. But that all comes to an end shortly. So, like I said, I didn't use them to bash them, for that's a whole nother topic. But what I'm saying is that if we allow things like that, or if we allow ourselves to be mentally influenced by people like that and by situations like that, then I always used to laugh with my friend about the fact that we had a friend who got strung out on crack, and we was like, all the people we saw lose their lives over crack. What make you say, hey, I'd like to try some of that, You see it flashed on TV. You see it in your community. What makes you go, I think that's the drug of my choice. So people's mental health is so important. One of the reasons meditation is so, Christ speaks about meditation. Meditation is spoken about all through the Bible, but it's not a practicing formula for most churches.
Let me jump in there, T, because I actually have a story about that. I went to a church in Greenwich, Connecticut, and the pastor's sermon was about villainizing yoga, and he went in there and he just talked about how he doesn't need to meditate and it's not necessary, and he clears his mind every day. Sometimes he'll walk out of the room and forget why he left, and he made that was his joke, but the whole thing was about vilifying meditation. And then when you read the Bible, it actually speaks about meditate on the word, meditate on this scripture, and I don't know how many times
and go into your secret place. And that is the only place you're going to find God, is within. So meditation is a very important first step, and it is a vehicle in which one creates a birth state. In other words, back in the womb, or a place of silence, because you're supposed to separate yourself from all conscious thought while in meditation. And there you are once again at the footstool of the Most High. So now you are being fed and uploaded information, as opposed to thinking about it, because the mind is an incredible thing, because it will co-sign, it will validate anything that you are committed to it validating it, whether it be a lie, the truth, or to make why you did something wrong appear right to you. Your mind is always trying to reconcile things for the betterment of you. And it's not doing that to be harsh or malicious. It's doing it because it's trying to regulate your body chemistry. So it's doing things to appease you for your wrongdoing. So we have to be careful when we allow the mind to operate for us instead of us directing our mind, instead of us controlling our mind, instead of us controlling our mental activity. And so meditation is one of the first steps, like I said, that we must begin to explore, because once again, it allows us to go to just a simple state of being. And I remember when I first started trying to meditate, and the flashes of symbols and signs and things that went through my mind that I don't know how they got there amazed me. As I sit there and watched all these different images and past conversations and past experiences and stuff that don't happen, things that I don't know where they came from. It made me very conscious of what catches hold in our lives during our day-to-day activity. So our first step towards any is to be able to control. And once you control your mind, you can control your body. Anyone who performs in athletics or anything where it takes focus and concentration can tell you that the mind will push the body way past where it wouldn't even think it could go. You look at the lady who was swimming the English Channel. You know what I mean? To be bitten by stung by jellyfish, and all the turmoil that you go through just to do it. But her mental mindset had to be so strong to endure it.
Yeah, she was like a honey badger.
Yeah, so you have to understand the possibilities that can be achieved just by controlling one's mind, allowing one to focus in one direction. Because, like I've said many times, when we start on our spiritual journey, it's as if someone has handed you a magnifying glass. And when you first get this magnifying glass, you see everything up close. So to people who are still looking through life without a magnifying glass, they go, wow, you can really see clear. And you can be a fool and think that you inherit some great power. But this is just a step on your way up. Mm-hmm. And you're able to see the fine print a little better where they can't see the fine print at all. So you start your spiritual journey and you start looking through life through this magnifying glass, seeing things a little larger, a little clearer than people who don't have their magnifying glass. But at a certain point, you begin to use this magnifying glass for power. And that's when you start to harness the rays from above and create a focal point. And now you realize you create fire and light and heat. And now you see what harnessed energy can do. You know? Right. And that's how it is in your spiritual journey. At some point, you have to turn it into power, into energy, into a usable substance, and not just for the amazement or for your viewing pleasure, you know? Right. And that's what a lot of people do. They like to entertain you with their viewing because their sight is a little better. But please, you have to keep moving on past that. And meditation is one of the things that allow you to turn that magnifying glass into a beam of energy that creates light in power.
So, T, we should regroup for anybody that's listening for the first time. Yesterday, what we were discussing was like once you become, say you do want to follow the teachings of Christ and become a student of him. And I'm talking about you are the people out there that actually read the Bible and, actually meditate on the Bible as well. And if you're not there yet, we were talking about what should happen in the beginning. And we said, you're saying you're born again. Well, T and I discussed the fact that, being born again is just like erasing this memory you have right now of everything and reprogramming yourself with the spiritual principles. Just like you were, warned as a child that the oven is hot. There's spiritual principles just like that, but they're just not tangible. But they are there, and they do work. So I just wanted to clarify some things for anybody that's new, listening. And T just encapsulated everything so well, where you talked about being born again, and then he moved on to the importance of the mind, and he's kind of building on that now, talking about meditation and what the effect of meditating on Scripture for understanding and for elevation. That's what he's putting together right now. So thank you for that, T.
Yeah, and you spoke about the preacher who spoke against yoga, and
right.
There's, as I spoke about in the first show that we did, there are people, a lot of religions and faiths and systems are built on different aspects of the truth. So you get yoga, and unlike Western religion and philosophy, they actually get into the practice part of it aspect of it, and where their main focus is channeling the energy and focusing on body. And yogis have been known to be able to perform incredible feats of mental, clairvoyant, and physical feats. So they're two different sides of the same coin. It's just when we give a name to it, just like what we're talking about now, there will be some devout person out there who would say, "Oh, that's New Age,"
or that's demonic.
Right. Well, it's hard to find what I'm saying demonic because I'm not causing no harm. But
no, they would say no. Hold on, T. They wouldn't let you off the hook that easy. They would say, "I disagree. You are causing harm, just endorsing it because it's not what what Christ taught. So you're just you've got the spirit of the Jezebel."
Yeah. Well, this is what Christ taught. The difference is we're breaking it down now in this day and age, and just because we've added words like science and other things, these are just other ways to explain or better clarify or make it digestible to an individual. It doesn't change the truth. And so we're only talking about truth here. If you want to get into language and semantics, then you're not searching for the truth. You know?
What do you mean by that?
Pardon me?
I said, what do you mean by that?
What I mean that if you're getting the truth, and because it's like if you're watching a movie, all of us movie lovers, we've watched romantic comedies, we've watched horror shows, we watched all these different genres of cinema. And most all of them have the same plot, you know?
Yeah, very predictable. It's a formula, actually.
Yeah, it's all, but each director gives you a different perspective on the same old story. And while one director may explain it this way and use cinematic things to make you see it from this perspective and another one from this way, it all depends on which way appeases you. So all we're doing is giving you the same, because the truth is the truth, and there's nothing I can say or anyone else can say that changes that. But hopefully I can shoot this movie in a way that you get it, that you understand it, that's cinematically pleasing to your heart and to your spirit, that you may receive what you couldn't get other way. You know?
Right.
I grew up in a Baptist church. My mother and father were gospel singers. My whole family was gospel singers. So the first time I went with my Catholic friend to Mass, and they were like, "Oh," I was like, "What is this?"
What was that sound you just made? What was that? What were they doing? I didn't get it.
I could not see. I could not sit through it. I could not sit through the, "Oh," you know.
But why do you sound? Wait, I don't understand. You sound like Chewbacca. I'm trying to figure out. Were they singing? Was that an impression they were singing? Were they humming?
Yeah, that was the way the choir sung, you know.
Oh,
so
wow. Okay.
That just wasn't, but for somebody else, that was exactly what they needed, and that was conducive for their growth. So it's all a matter of cinematic
presentation,
artistic thing, but it's the same message.
Right.
It's the same truth. It's the same thing. It's all a matter of how to receive it. So when people talk about New Age and New Wave, You have to understand one thing. As you move past your mind, once you're able to get your mind will begin to reveal certain truths about the laws of the Most High. And uh, there is nothing that can happen or operate that isn't in accordance to the law of the Most High, whether it be life or death or anything that happens in between. So for something to happen, good or evil, it still takes place within the realm of the laws.
Yeah, so remember I told you, T. I told you that was my favorite line from the Star Wars franchise when the Emperor told Anakin, he goes, "Anakin, good and evil is a matter of perspective," and then he had his little evil laugh at the end, and I was like, "Wow, that's so true."
Because and it is because we look at if we look at it socially and culturally and in these ways, then yeah, evil is. What was evil 50 years ago is now commonplace. You know, and so and we keep erasing and moving the lines, but within the laws of the Creator, they are immutable, and there is no changing.
That's why he said, "My word is forever."
That's right. So if you try to keep up with man's laws, you're going to always find yourself changing and rearranging yourself, but in the same place. It does not move anywhere upward.
Well, they don't want us to.
Well, they don't. A lot of people, I used to say people don't want to move. I now understand a lot of people don't know how to move. We go to we get into whatever religion that we have, and whatever preacher or whatever, they themselves don't know how to take people through their program because they don't want to lose you. They don't want to lose you in a congregation. They have a fear of loss. So they withhold information, suppress it, or not know it at all. And so a lot of times you just keep getting the same sermon regurgitated. You keep getting the same books with a new spin on it, talking about the same thing. But there is nothing that actually moves you closer to divinity through sanctification that sets you apart. And what sets you apart, sanctification is about power. It's not about a belief. You're not sanctified because you believe in Christ. You're sanctified when you develop the power of Christ, when you're able to perform miracles, when you're able to see, when you're able to discern. So sanctification is about setting yourself apart in power and in strength. And very few of us have yet to do that. And even fewer have even yet to begin to attempt it. So that becomes the problem with different structures of religion in our.
Well, T, I think the problem is the block, the obstacle, is how the system is designed. It's like hamsters in a wheel, basically. And you wake up, you have your breakfast, you get your kids out, you go to work, you eat, and it's just like you could actually probably make musical notes for each thing that you do and make a song out of it, but it would be the same song played over and over, and then you become a slave to the conditioning of it because you're now conditioned. And so to break away mentally it's very difficult for people to see. It's very difficult to pull out of groupthink and just go within. Your best friend should be that inner kingdom. That's where all the power is. But people are so distracted. So when you said very few, Maybe. I mean, it's so difficult, and it's such a difficult journey to even attain the information. You knew it's a lot of. I mean, it's a lot of hard work for you to be at the point you're at now. I mean, you invested into yourself through
It
books,
was,
videos.
for me, it was very, very difficult to think outside of my Baptist upbringing. And I don't have. I'm not saying that that my Baptist upbringing was negative, because it was what started me. You know what I mean? It's what kept me firm in the first part of my life. But as you begin to know and want to know, you're going to have to break outside of the system of that. And that's all I'm saying. It's very hard, no matter what it is that you understand. The truth is going to break out. You cannot fit it inside of a religion. You cannot fit it inside of one doctrine.
Well, what was what was Jesus's religion?
I never recall him saying he had one.
That's interesting, isn't it?
And all he was concerned about was the truth that leads you to the right hand of the Father, and that's all there is. But we allow certain things, all because of our mental breakdown. We allow ourselves to be manipulated. We have people who attend whatever church or synagogue or temple or whatever they do, and they use that to qualify themselves, to allow themselves to be mentally admonished from not having to think and be. So they use that to qualify themselves as good. And whether they go to service on every day, Sunday, Saturday, whatever they do. And they go back to being the same old nasty person. You cannot do that. You cannot be the same old nasty person if you are following the way of Christ. Because as you remove certain things from your life, you remove it through and through. So there's no turning back. There's no backbiting. There's only things that have to further be removed, but there's no going back, because that removal is spiritual removal.
That sounds like a good business to start. It's like a spiritual removal services. You might be onto something there.
But so that is where we have to be. Where we can keep our mind on the truth. The truth is the North Star that we're walking towards. And it's going to lead you through a lot of different lands on your way.
Well, T, let me ask you this: people need like structure. So, like, if you were going to put like a schedule together for somebody, like a daily schedule, if this is something daily, and you would say like, all right, so the first thing, you've made the choice to become a student of the teachings of Christ. That's like check one. And then what do they have for breakfast? How does all this really work? How do they, when you talk about applying it, what do you do? Do you meditate at a certain time during the day? Have you changed your diet? Is this, there's so much. There's so many questions.
The interesting thing about all of that is change becomes a byproduct of the meditation and the seeking. In other words, the thing that you're talking about is that actually one of the things that get people in trouble. They go, well, I'm not going to do that right now. And your system don't know why you're not doing it anymore. So it begins to crave it. whatever it is, the things that are no longer a part of my life, they fell off. I didn't go, I'm gonna stop this today. And I'm not doing it because I'm moving towards Christ. No, I just started walking and it started falling off.
So basically, there were things that you just lost interest in.
Right. Because understanding makes you lose it. Because every time something becomes invalid to you on a certain level of your mind, now it loses its importance to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we talked about Andrew Carnegie, who was one of the richest men on the planet in his day. And even his wealth lost interest to him, so he gave it away.
He's like, I don't need all this money.
As you develop yourself spiritually, different things are going to fall away according to it.
Got it.
So you don't have to. That's the people's biggest problem. They create a reaction by doing another one, and we know every action has a reaction. Time I say I don't want something, I begin to crave it. You know? And that's like having the spirit of appreciation. As long as you're appreciating every little thing, you don't have the feeling of lack. But as soon as you have the spirit of lack, you start craving things.
The spirit of lack. I like that.
You know? So you have to understand how the mind works and how it reacts to certain mental or verbal commands or subliminal commands. We are all influenced by people who study the way we react mentally. Whether it's through a commercial, and I know that I can get in your subconscious by flashing some word that you don't even consciously see.
Oh, that's dirty too when they do that.
Yeah. So you have to understand the way when we look at the way we dress and we look around and we see we dress like everybody, you best believe you were influenced. You know? Even people go, no, I have my own mind.
No, I'm actually
that you are influenced.
I agree. I'm going through a lumberjack phase.
You know, so we have a very imitative nature. We have a very and all of this is because we are not in control of our minds. And so the first thing you have to do, if I was going to give somebody a formula, is practice being able to hold your mind in one place for 2 minutes, then 3, then 4, then 15, then 20. If you can't do that, then you have a serious mental problem with grabbing control of yourself and what you want to do.
Is that a problem somebody could get over?
Yeah, all it takes is to be conscious of it and then begin to learn how to focus.
So, when they're doing this, would they be meditating on the word? Or, I mean, is there like a daily objective when you do it?
Your first thing is to be able to clear your thoughts. In other words, discard things that shouldn't even be there. And it also gives you a chance to critique what is going on in your life. What is happening in your life that this keeps flashing in your life? See, a lot of these things allow you to address and file away things. And I don't believe in suppression. You know, we look at different religions who are very heavy in suppression. We see in Islam, the women are covered from head to toe as to not to entice the men.
Well, they do show the ankles.
Yeah, but what I'm saying has not gained any control of himself. He hasn't had any spiritual growth if just the sight of some flesh causes you to become uncontrollable. You know? And so if you don't have control of your desires and your actions, then there's no way you can be, you can go to a different dimension. There's no way you're equipped. So the first thing we have to do, because the mind is the doorway to heaven or to hell. All depends on which way you swing it open. You know, so it's very important that we begin to mind our minds. You know,
right.
and to critique our actions. And there's so many things. I remember when I first started, I realized so many things that I did on by habit that I started when I had the urge to do something, I would just wait a second and then do it on purpose. Although it's the same thing I get up and do, I had a routine every morning. I would change it on purpose to do it on purpose. And I was amazed at how many things I just do automatically and not even think it. And even though I don't need to do it, I do it. You know? And so we do this. And although these things may not seem like it's spiritually connected, but it is very much so, because to cause your mind to become in a place of peace where it is as calm and there's no ripples in it, now allows the rest of your body to become. And in all these things we're doing, all we're doing is preparing our temple, our physical body, to be energized with a higher vibration so that we can receive and communicate on higher dimensions.
That's right.
So all things are, this is all in preparation. This is boot camp. This is spiritual boot camp. And if you think that you're receiving things now and doing things, and you can't hold your mind still, you're sadly mistaken. And you're on the way to fanaticism or something, because you must be able to hold your mind. You must be able to control your mind to begin to level out and allow the other functions in your body to begin to, I remember feeling when someone that I didn't like at a time walked in a room and my whole chemistry changed in my body. And I realized, wow, that's odd. No words were spoken, but they came in my presence and my whole chemistry. So when you get your mind to where things don't bother you on that, you allow your central nervous system, you allow the blood and the heart rate and all these things to remain normal, and to create an atmosphere that is spiritually conducive, you know, for receiving spiritual things and deciphering spiritual things. A lot of things of what we think are spiritual now is reaction to a belief or something that we've had and not a knowing. You know? And so we have to bring ourselves to a place where we're able to even understand and decipher. I'm not telling you what you need to understand. I'm not telling you what you need to decipher. But you have to bring yourself to a place, because your journey and my journey is going to be different. in certain aspects.
T, we're at the top of the hour, so we did it. So we're just gonna wrap it up now, and we'll be back soon. And everybody out there, thank you for listening.
And please stay tuned for the next show as we go to the next rung of the ladder. Thank you for listening.